The massive alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere on a quiet Tuesday morning. Its silver hull reflected sunlight as it descended toward New York City, causing millions to stop and stare at the sky. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept but were ordered to maintain distance. This was, after all, a diplomatic visit, the first official contact between humanity and the Vexari Empire. Frank Morgan watched from his office window in the United Nations building. At 52, he didn't look like someone who had spent 20 years as a Navy SEAL before transitioning to diplomatic service. His salt and pepper hair was neatly trimmed, and his blue suit was perfectly tailored to hide both his muscular frame and the scars that told stories of missions across every continent. "They're here," said Olivia Grant, entering the room without knocking. At 45, she had the unassuming appearance of a career bureaucrat. Only Morgan and a handful of others knew about her previous role in military intelligence or the neural implants hidden beneath her auburn hair. "Time to welcome our new galactic neighbors," Morgan said, straightening his tie. "How's the team?" "Ready." "Sam is in position at security. Peter is prepping the conference room." Morgan nodded. Sam Rivera and Peter Coleman completed their diplomatic team, both former Special Forces operatives with combat enhancements hidden beneath pressed shirts and blazers. To the aliens, they would appear as ordinary diplomatic staff. In reality, they were the most dangerous humans on the planet. "Remember the directive," Morgan said as they walked toward the elevator. "We represent Earth as peaceful diplomats first. Everything else is last resort." "I didn't spend 8 years learning alien cultural studies to start a war on first contact," Olivia replied with a slight smile. "But I did bring options." The small device concealed in her pocket could disable electronic systems within a 50-foot radius. Just one of many diplomatic tools the team carried. The UN General Assembly Hall had been transformed for the historic meeting. World leaders filled the observer seats while a special circular table stood at the center. Morgan took his position alongside representatives from other major nations. They had agreed, after heated debate, that humanity needed to present a unified front. The doors opened and the Vexari delegation entered. Their leader stood nearly 8 feet tall with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. High Commander Zilthor moved with surprising grace for his size, his 4 eyes scanning the room with obvious disdain. Behind him marched 6 warriors in what appeared to be ceremonial armor, though Morgan recognized the subtle signs of active battle gear. "They're armed," Olivia whispered, her eyes briefly displaying enhanced readings from her implants. "So are we," Morgan replied quietly. The initial greetings proceeded according to protocol. The UN Secretary-General welcomed the visitors to Earth. Translations were provided through advanced systems developed specifically for this encounter, based on the linguistic data the Vexari had transmitted months earlier. Then it was Zilthor's turn to speak. "People of Earth," the alien's voice boomed through the translation system. "The Galactic Concordat recognizes your achievement of basic space travel. Your species has been deemed suitable for integration into our civilization." Morgan noticed the word choice, not invited, but deemed suitable. His instincts, honed through decades of reading hostile intent, began to signal warning. Zilthor continued, "The process is simple. You will provide access to your natural resources, supply workers for Concordat projects, and receive protection under our military umbrella. Your governments will remain in place but will answer to Concordat oversight." The room grew tense. This wasn't an offer of diplomatic relations. It was barely veiled colonization. The Secretary-General attempted to redirect the conversation. "High Commander, we were hoping to discuss mutual cooperation and cultural exchange before." "Cultural exchange?" Zilthor interrupted with a sound that might have been laughter. "Your species is barely beyond using combustion engines. You have nothing to exchange that we value except your planet's resources." He slammed his metallic gauntlet on the table, causing several diplomats to flinch. "Accept the Concordat's generous offer, or we will return with a battle fleet. You have 6 of your Earth months to prepare for integration." The room erupted in multiple languages as world leaders began shouting questions and objections. Morgan remained silent, watching the Vexari's body language. The warriors behind Zilthor had shifted stance, hands closer to what were almost certainly weapons. "Ambassador Morgan," the Secretary General said, "perhaps you would like to address our visitors?" All eyes turned to Frank as he stood calmly. The room quieted. "High Commander Zilthor," he began, his voice measured and respectful despite the threat hanging in the air. "We appreciate your journey to our humble planet." He smiled, the kind of smile that never reached his eyes, the kind he had given targets moments before ending their existence in his previous career. "But I should warn you that Earth doesn't bow to threats. We negotiate as equals or not at all." Zilthor's upper eyes narrowed. "You dare speak of equality? Your weapons are toys compared to ours. Your ships can barely reach your own moon." Morgan maintained his pleasant expression. "Technology isn't everything, Commander. Humans have a unique history on our planet. We evolved as apex predators who later chose civilization. That's an unusual development path, from what I understand of galactic species." He straightened his suit jacket with practiced ease, revealing nothing of the lethal skills beneath his diplomatic exterior. "What that means," Morgan continued, "is that while we prefer peaceful relations, we remain very, very good at the alternative." The room fell silent. Even the other human diplomats looked surprised at Morgan's calm defiance. Zilthor stared at the human, all four eyes blinking in what appeared to be confusion. This wasn't how primitive species usually responded to Vexari dominance. "Displays, you threaten the might of the Concordat?" the alien finally asked. "Not at all," Morgan replied. "I'm simply suggesting that mutual respect will lead to more productive outcomes for everyone involved." Zilthor turned to his warriors and barked something in their native language that the translation system didn't catch. Then he faced the human assembly once more. "We will return in 6 months. Prepare your answer then. Acceptance or consequences." The Vexari delegation marched out as suddenly as they had arrived. In the chaos that followed, Morgan gathered his team in a secure room deep within the building. "That went well," Sam Rivera said, loosening his tie. "They'll be back with warships," Peter Coleman added. Morgan nodded. "They underestimate us. Let's make sure that works in our favor." Olivia looked at the data flowing across her digital tablet. "I gathered complete biological scans. The Vexari have vulnerabilities we can exploit if necessary." "Contact Director Wells," Morgan ordered. "Tell her to activate Protocol Omega. We have 6 months to prepare Earth's real diplomatic response." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Morgan stared out at the New York skyline. Throughout human history, would-be conquerors had always made the same critical mistake, assuming that civilization had made humans soft. The Vexari would soon learn what countless human adversaries had discovered through bitter experience. Earth's diplomats smiled and spoke of peace precisely because they were so capable of the alternative. They didn't send diplomats to the stars. They sent apex predators wearing suits. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that didn't exist on any public record, Director Diane Wells stood before a wall of screens displaying data from around the world. 6 weeks had passed since the Vexari ultimatum, and Earth was preparing in ways the aliens could never imagine. "Status report," Wells demanded, her sharp eyes scanning the room filled with the world's best military and scientific minds. Jack Reeves stepped forward. At 48, he looked more like a college professor than a former Black Ops specialist with 15 confirmed impossible missions. His simple gray suit hid both his physical capabilities and his genius-level IQ. "Project Achilles is on schedule," he said, bringing up diagrams on the main screen. "We've identified 7 critical weaknesses in Vexari ship design based on the scans Ambassador Morgan's team collected." Wells nodded. "And our diplomatic package? Ready for final approval." Jack clicked to a new screen showing what appeared to be standard diplomatic attire: suits, dresses, formal wear appropriate for high-level negotiations. These looked normal, but each contains defensive systems that can stop their energy weapons, and offensive capabilities that can penetrate their armor. A woman sitting quietly in the corner stood up. Kate Simmons had the appearance of someone's kind aunt, rather than an operative who once eliminated an entire terrorist cell in under 4 minutes. The psychological profile is complete, she said. The Vexari operate on dominance hierarchies. They respect only power and expect submission from those they consider weaker. Their four eyes give them superior peripheral vision, but they process emotional cues slower than humans. She moved to the front of the room. Most importantly, they've never encountered a species like us, predators who chose to become diplomats rather than the other way around. They don't understand that our restraint is a choice, not a weakness. Wells took this in. And our tactical response? Alan West, the world's foremost expert in psychological warfare before joining the program, cleared his throat. Simple misdirection. Let them think they're facing primitive humans with limited space capability. He pulled up images of outdated military equipment being prominently displayed around the world. Meanwhile, the real defenses remain hidden until needed. When they arrive expecting an easy victory, they'll find themselves facing capabilities they never anticipated. Director Wells surveyed the room. Remember, people, our goal remains diplomatic resolution. We show our teeth only if necessary. With respect, Director, Jack said, the Vexari only understand teeth. Everything else is just deciding when to bite. 3 months into Earth's preparation, Frank Morgan stood on the observation deck of the newly completed orbital platform, Eden Station. Officially, it was a scientific research facility. Unofficially, it housed Earth's most advanced defensive systems. Impressive view, said a voice behind him. Morgan turned to see Olivia Grant floating toward him in the low-gravity section. Earth. Looks peaceful from up here, Morgan replied. Hard to believe we're preparing for possible war. That's always been our story, hasn't it? Olivia said. Peace is our preference, violence our capability. A communication alert sounded and both moved quickly to the secure conference room where Sam Rivera was already waiting. We intercepted a transmission, Sam said without preamble. The Vexari fleet is larger than expected. 30 ships, not just the 10 we anticipated. Morgan's expression remained neutral. That changes nothing. Are Peter and the ground team ready? Final drills tomorrow, Sam confirmed. The new defensive systems are online but untested against actual Vexari technology. Morgan looked at the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet, still months away but moving steadily toward Earth. Have we heard from our new friends, he asked. Olivia nodded. The Kalari ambassadors have agreed to meet. If anyone knows the Vexari weaknesses, it's their former conquest who managed to negotiate independence. Good, Morgan said. Let's make sure we're ready to negotiate from strength. The Kalari didn't look impressive at first glance. Standing barely 5 feet tall with slender limbs and large sensitive eyes, they seemed fragile compared to humans. Yet these beings had once fought the Vexari to a standstill through sheer cunning. Ambassador Neri Tell studied the humans across the table. The meeting was taking place on a neutral orbital platform near Jupiter, away from prying eyes. Your species intrigues us, the Kalari said, her translator converting the musical tones of her language to English. Most races either submit to the Vexari or face destruction. You choose a third path. We're known for finding alternatives, Morgan replied, and we'd prefer one that doesn't involve bloodshed. Neri Tell's large eyes blinked slowly. The Vexari respect only strength, but strength comes in many forms. She placed a small crystal on the table. This contains technical specifications of their shield frequencies and communication protocols. We offer it freely. Jack Reeves, who had joined the diplomatic team as technical advisor, studied the crystal with interest. Why help us? We're strangers to you. Because the Vexari must learn they are not the apex species they believe themselves to be, Neri Tell replied. And you're humans. You remind us of what we once were before centuries of Vexari rule made us cautious. The meeting continued for hours with the Kalari sharing crucial intelligence about Vexari tactics and cultural weaknesses. As they prepared to leave, Neri Tell approached Morgan privately. There is something you should know about your species, she said. Our scans show unusual patterns in your neurochemistry. Your people feel fear, yet move toward danger. You sense pain, yet continue fighting. These traits are rare in the galaxy, Morgan nodded. On Earth, we evolved as pursuit predators. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we never stop. It's shaped who we are. The Vexari evolved as ambush hunters, Neritel replied. They strike hard and fast, but retreat if initial dominance fails. Remember this. As the Kalari ship departed, Morgan and his team immediately began integrating the new intelligence into their preparations. 1 week before the Vexari deadline, Earth appeared to be a planet preparing for submission. News broadcasts showed citizens building shelters and government stockpiling basic supplies. Military units were visible but equipped with obviously inferior weapons. In reality, the planet was a coiled snake, ready to strike if diplomacy failed. In the underground facility, Director Wells supervised final preparations as specialized teams rehearsed various scenarios. The diplomatic corps, all former elite operatives, practiced negotiation tactics while wearing their specially designed suits. What if they refused to talk? Asked one of the newer team members. Jack Reeves answered before Wells could respond. Then we show them why Earth's history is written by apex predators who learn to use words before showing their fangs. Wells nodded in agreement. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or technology. It's that we genuinely prefer peace. But we're extremely good at war. She looked at the countdown timer on the wall. 1 week until they return. Let's make sure Earth's diplomats are ready to negotiate, by any means necessary. The Vexari fleet arrived exactly 6 months after their first visit. 30 warships entered Earth's solar system in formation, their massive hulls blocking starlight as they approached Earth orbit. Worldwide, citizens watched anxious news reports showing the alien armada positioning itself threateningly above major cities. What the Vexari didn't know was that humans had been watching their approach for weeks through hidden sensors placed throughout the solar system. Inside the command center of Eden Station, Frank Morgan and his team monitored the situation with calm focus. Right on schedule, Morgan said, straightening the cuffs of his perfectly tailored suit. To any observer, he looked like a diplomat preparing for a meeting. Only his team knew about the advanced tech woven into the fabric or the neural enhancements that connected all of them to Earth's defense systems. They're broadcasting, Olivia reported from her console. Standard Vexari intimidation pattern, demanding our immediate surrender and threatening orbital bombardment. Morgan nodded. Send our response. We invite Grand Marshal Kravnak to continue our diplomatic discussions aboard this station. Sam Rivera looked up in surprise. You're inviting them here? That's a risk. Home field advantage, Morgan replied simply. Director Wells approved the strategy. Peter Coleman entered the room, now dressed in the formal uniform of Earth's newly created Space Security Service. Like the others, his appearance gave no hint of the lethal capabilities hidden beneath the professional exterior. Station defenses are fully operational but running silent, he reported. Defense grid is on standby across all 6 continents. If negotiations fail, we're ready. Morgan took a moment to study the tactical display showing Earth's hidden strengths, thousands of advanced weapon platforms concealed beneath oceans and within mountain ranges, orbital defenses disguised as communication satellites, and combat units standing by in every major city. 6 months of preparation had transformed Earth from a vulnerable target into a planet-sized trap. The Vexari are responding, Olivia announced. Grand Marshal Kravnak accepts our invitation. He'll arrive with a delegation of 10 in 2 hours. Perfect, Morgan said. Let's prepare the welcome committee. Eden Station's diplomatic reception area gleamed with polished surfaces and soft lighting. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of Earth below and the Vexari fleet beyond. To the aliens, it would appear as a simple meeting room. They wouldn't detect the advanced scanning systems analyzing their every move or the defensive countermeasures ready to activate at a moment's notice. Morgan's team took their positions, appearing as nothing more than diplomatic staff. Lisa Winters and Doug Martinez, introduced as cultural advisors, were actually special forces operators with extensive close-quarters combat training. Both wore simple business attire that concealed their capabilities. The Vexari shuttle docked with a heavy clank. Airlock doors cycled open, and Grand Marshal Kravnak entered, flanked by warriors in full battle armor. Unlike High Commander Zilthor, from the first meeting Kravnak was older. his blue-gray skin marked with the ritual scars of countless victories. His four eyes surveyed the room with obvious disdain. "Welcome to Eden Station," Morgan said, stepping forward with a diplomatic smile. "We appreciate you accepting our invitation to continue discussions." Kravnak made a dismissive gesture. "There is nothing to discuss, human. I come only to accept your surrender in person." Morgan maintained his pleasant expression. "Perhaps we could offer you a demonstration of Earth's capabilities before these negotiations continue." The Grand Marshal laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "What capabilities? Our scans show primitive defenses and outdated weapon systems. Your planet is defenseless." "Appearances can be deceiving," Morgan replied calmly. He touched his wrist communicator. "Director Wells, if you would be so kind." On the view screens around the room, live feeds appeared showing various locations around Earth. At Morgan's signal, hidden installations revealed themselves. Massive defense platforms rising from oceans, mountainsides opening to expose advanced missile systems, and thousands of seemingly ordinary satellites transforming into defensive positions. At the same moment, 3 Vexari scout ships, which had been attempting to penetrate Earth's atmosphere against the agreed protocols, suddenly lost power and began drifting helplessly in orbit. "A misunderstanding, surely," Morgan said, straightening his tie as the Vexari received frantic communications about their disabled vessels. "Now, shall we discuss terms as equals?" Kravnak's upper eyes widened while his lower eyes narrowed to slits, a sign of both surprise and anger that the human team had been briefed to recognize. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. "How did you disable our ships?" "Not trickery. Strategy," Morgan replied. "Earth has been developing defensive technology for decades. We simply kept our capabilities private." One of the Vexari officers stepped forward aggressively, his hand moving toward what appeared to be a weapon. "You dare deceive the Concordat? The penalty is—" He never finished the sentence. Lisa Winters, the unassuming cultural advisor, moved with impossible speed, crossing the room and disarming the alien before anyone could react. She returned to her position with the alien's weapon, offering a polite smile. "Please forgive my colleague's rudeness," she said, placing the weapon on the table. "On Earth, we consider drawing weapons during peace talks to be extremely impolite." The room fell silent as the Vexari processed what they had just witnessed. Their scans had shown nothing unusual about the human woman, yet she had moved faster than their enhanced reflexes could track. Kravnak stared at Morgan with new understanding. "You are not what you appear to be." "Few things on Earth are," Morgan agreed, "including our diplomatic corps." "You could have shown your strength immediately," Kravnak said, his tone now cautious. "Why the deception?" "Because we genuinely prefer peaceful relations," Morgan explained. "But we negotiate as equals, not as conquests. Earth has no interest in war with the Vexari or the Concordat. We seek mutually beneficial cooperation." He gestured to the view screen still showing Earth's revealed defenses. "However, we are fully prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." The subtle threat hung in the air between them. After a long moment, Kravnak made a gesture that the humans recognized from their briefings with the Kalari, a sign of reluctant respect. "The Concordat has misjudged your species," he admitted. "You are not the primitive world we believed." "A common mistake," Morgan replied with a slight smile. "Now shall we begin actual negotiations? Our teams have prepared proposals for trade, cultural exchange, and defensive cooperation that might interest the Concordat." As the formal talks began, Olivia leaned close to Morgan and whispered, "That went better than expected." Morgan nodded, slightly. "Phase 1 complete. Now comes the real challenge, making sure the rest of the galaxy understands that Earth's diplomats come with teeth." Outside the station windows, Earth continued its peaceful rotation, appearing harmless and blue. Like its human inhabitants, the planet had revealed just enough of its strength to ensure respect, while keeping its most dangerous capabilities hidden beneath a civilized surface. The message was clear. These weren't just diplomats. They were something far more dangerous, wearing the thin veneer of civilization. News of Earth's successful negotiations with the Vexari spread quickly throughout the Galactic Concordat. Species that had suffered under Vexari dominance watched with interest as the humans secured favorable terms without firing a single shot. Other powerful races began to wonder about these strange beings who presented themselves as peaceful diplomats, yet demonstrated unexpected strength. 3 months after the Eden Station Agreement, the Concordat Council extended an official invitation for Earth to send representatives to their Grand Assembly on the central world of Nexus Prime. This was unprecedented. New species typically waited years before receiving such an honor. "They're curious about us," Director Wells explained during the mission briefing at the underground facility. "Our approach to diplomacy has caught their attention." The team selected for this crucial mission gathered around the conference table. Ambassador Nicole Perry would lead the delegation. At 48, she had the appearance of a seasoned diplomat, with her silver-streaked black hair and confident bearing. Few would guess she was once the most successful intelligence operative in her agency's history, with expertise in 17 forms of combat. "The Concordat Council includes 27 species," Nicole said, studying the holographic display of alien representatives. "Most are peaceful trading powers, but 3 pose potential concerns." She highlighted 3 alien species. "The Vexari we know. The Dracid Imperium are their longtime rivals, aggressive and territorial. And the Zentari Collective is technologically advanced, but secretive." Ben Foster, officially listed as Diplomatic Secretary, but actually a weapons specialist with neural enhancements, leaned forward. "Intelligence suggests the Dracid are unhappy about our treaty with the Vexari. They see it as disrupting the power balance." "Let them be unhappy," said Haley Nelson, a cultural specialist with remarkable linguistic abilities and combat training that made her lethal in close quarters. "Our goal is to establish Earth as a neutral party interested in trade and cultural exchange." "And if they test us?" asked Carl Warren, whose mild appearance and quiet voice concealed both a genius intellect and enhanced physical capabilities. Nicole smiled slightly. "Then we educate them, diplomatically, of course." Director Wells closed the briefing with a final reminder. "You represent Earth to the wider galaxy. First impressions matter. Show them our wisdom, our restraint, and only if absolutely necessary, our strength." The Concordat capital world of Nexus Prime hummed with activity as representatives from 100 worlds gathered for the Grand Assembly. The human delegation arrived in a small but elegant ship, designed to convey Earth's technological competence without appearing threatening. Their assigned quarters in the diplomatic sector were luxurious by human standards, though the variations in gravity, atmosphere, and lighting revealed the building's design for multiple species. "Security scan complete," Ben reported after sweeping their rooms. 7 listening devices found and now feeding controlled information. Nicole nodded. "Expected. Maintain diplomatic protocols at all times. Assume we're being observed." "The welcome reception begins in 1 hour," Haley noted, checking the translated schedule. "All major powers will be present." "Perfect opportunity to make introductions," Nicole replied. "Remember your training. Observe everything, reveal nothing." The human delegation dressed in formal diplomatic attire, elegant suits and dresses, that appeared perfectly normal yet contained advanced technology. Hidden scanners analyzed alien biology, translation systems monitored private conversations, and defensive measures stood ready to activate if needed. The Concordat reception hall was a marvel of design, a vast chamber with areas suited to each species' environmental needs. Floating lights illuminated the space, and servers of various alien races offered food and drinks appropriate for different biologies. As the humans entered, conversations paused briefly as curious eyes turned to observe the newcomers. The Earth delegation moved through the crowd with practiced ease, exchanging greetings with alien representatives. "Ambassador Perry," a deep voice rumbled. "The humans who tamed the Vexari." Nicole turned to face a massive reptilian being with iridescent scales and 4 arms. "Ambassador Kraz of the Dracid Imperium," she replied with a diplomatic smile. "I wouldn't characterize our relationship with the Vexari as taming. We simply established mutual respect. The Drakid made a sound that might have been laughter. The Vexari respect only power. What power does Earth possess that could impress them so? Perhaps it's not always about power, Ambassador, Nicole replied. Sometimes understanding is more effective. A diplomatic answer, Kraz said. But we Drakid have known the Vexari for centuries. They do not bend to words. Behind her diplomatic smile, Nicole calculated escape routes and assessed the Drakid's vulnerabilities. Information provided by exhaustive briefings on all major concordate species. Every species has its own approach to diplomacy, she said. Earth prefers peaceful relations, but we're prepared for all possibilities. The Drakid's eyes narrowed. We shall see, human. As the reception continued, the Earth team circulated separately, gathering information and establishing connections with various alien representatives. Carl engaged a group of Zentari scientists in discussion, while Haley demonstrated her remarkable ability to mimic alien language patterns, impressing several linguistic specialists. Ben remained close to Nicole, his enhanced senses scanning for threats as they moved through the crowd. We're being watched closely, he murmured. The Drakid delegation in particular. Nicole nodded slightly. Expected. They're testing boundaries. What neither realized was that the test would come sooner than anticipated. As servants moved through, the crowd with refreshments, one approached Nicole with a tray of drinks. Ben's enhanced senses detected the anomaly instantly, the server's muscle tension and irregular heartbeat pattern indicating hostile intent. The attack came with startling speed as the servant dropped the tray and lunged forward with a concealed weapon. 3 more attackers converged from different directions, blocking escape routes. What happened next became legendary in concordate security footage. Nicole moved with fluid grace, sidestepping the first attacker while simultaneously disarming him. Ben intercepted 2 others, his movements precise and efficient. Across the room, Carl and Haley responded instantly, moving to secure escape routes and protect nearby diplomats from the chaos. The entire incident lasted less than 30 seconds. When it ended, 4 Drakid assassins lay unconscious or restrained, while the human delegation appeared barely disturbed. Nicole's elegant dress remained unruffled, and she calmly set down her glass on a nearby table. The reception hall had fallen, silent in shock. The Drakid ambassador pushed through the crowd, rage evident in his posture. What is the meaning of this? You attack my people? Your assassins attacked us, Ambassador, Nicole replied with perfect composure. We simply defended ourselves. With remarkable restraint, I might add. Security forces arrived, scanning the unconscious attackers. They carried Drakid military implants, the security chief announced, and concealed weapons banned in the diplomatic sector. Kraz found himself suddenly isolated as other ambassadors stepped away, unwilling to be associated with such a blatant violation of diplomatic protocols. The Zentari representative, an elegant being with crystalline features, approached Nicole when the Drakid ambassador demanded to know what kind of diplomats Earth had sent. Nicole smiled and responded, On Earth, peace is not maintained by the harmless. It's protected by predators who choose restraint, until restraint is no longer an option. The incident earned humanity both fear and respect. As the human delegation departed the reception, whispers followed them through the halls of the concordate assembly. Alien species began to understand that Earth's diplomatic corps operated under a different philosophy. Speak softly but carry capabilities that made big sticks unnecessary. 1 year after first contact, Earth had secured a unique position within the Galactic Concordate. The small blue planet, once dismissed as primitive, was now recognized as a rising power with an unusual approach to galactic politics. While other species relied on displays of military might or technological superiority, humanity's method of sending apex predators disguised as peaceful envoys had created a new paradigm. The newly established Earth Embassy on Nexus Prime stood as a symbol of this success. Unlike the towering structures of the Vexari or the fortress-like compounds of the Drakid, the Earth Embassy was elegant and welcoming, its design emphasizing openness while concealing state-of-the-art security systems. Inside the embassy's Grand Reception Hall, Ambassador Frank Morgan hosted a diplomatic gathering. The guest list included representatives from 30 alien species, many previously hostile to human interests, but now eager to establish relations with Earth. Morgan moved through the crowd with practiced ease. At 53, his distinguished appearance and calm demeanor gave no hint of his dangerous past. Beside him stood Olivia Grant, now Earth's permanent representative to the Concorded Council. "The Zentari ambassador wishes to speak with you," Olivia said quietly, nodding toward a crystalline being waiting near the refreshment area. Morgan made his way over, exchanging brief greetings with other diplomats as he passed. The Zentari were known for their advanced technology and reserved nature. Gaining their interest was a significant achievement. "Ambassador Talzin," Morgan greeted with a respectful bow. "Thank you for attending our gathering." The crystalline being's facets shifted, and what humans had learned was a gesture of acknowledgement. "Your species continues to fascinate us, Ambassador Morgan. You have achieved in 1 year what others failed to accomplish in decades." "We're adaptable," Morgan replied modestly. "More than adaptable," the Zentari observed. "You are contradictions in physical form. You build weapons of tremendous power, yet lobby for peace. You train your people for combat, then send them to negotiate. You smile warmly while calculating how to defeat every being in the room." Morgan's expression remained pleasant. "The paradox of humanity is that our greatest desire is peace, yet our evolutionary path made us into predators. We've learned to channel our predatory instincts into protecting what matters most: our values, our people, our allies." The Zentari's crystalline form shimmered in the light. "A fascinating philosophy. Most species in the Concordate evolved as either predator or prey and maintain those instincts. Your ability to be both and to choose which aspect to express is unique." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden commotion near the embassy entrance. Security alerts flashed silently on Morgan's neural implant as the building's defense systems activated. Greg Howard, officially listed as administrative staff, but actually a combat specialist with extensive field experience, appeared at Morgan's side. "Security breach in progress," he reported calmly. "Initial scans detect explosive devices." Morgan nodded slightly, his expression never changing despite the threat. "Implement Protocol Sierra. Evacuate our guests through the secure passages." Around the room, Earth Embassy staff, all former military or intelligence operatives, moved with practiced efficiency. To the alien guests, they appeared to be providing calm guidance, but each staff member was executing precise security protocols while scanning for threats. "What's happening?" the Zentari ambassador asked. "A minor security concern," Morgan replied smoothly. "My staff will escort you to safety while we resolve the issue." As Heather Boyd, the embassy's cultural liaison, led the Zentari and other dignitaries toward hidden evacuation routes, Morgan and his security team moved toward the source of the threat. The embassy's security systems had identified a group of 8 infiltrators, a mix of species including Drakid, Vexari, and several others. They had bypassed the outer perimeter using advanced cloaking technology and were attempting to plant explosive devices throughout the building. "Terrorist faction," Greg assessed from the security feeds. "Likely extremists opposed to Earth's growing influence," Morgan nodded. "Capture if possible. We need information." What followed was a masterclass in controlled violence. The human security team moved through the embassy with lethal efficiency, their formal attire concealing enhanced strength and speed. Years of training allowed them to neutralize threats with precision rather than brute force. Morgan himself intercepted 2 infiltrators attempting to access the embassy's secure communications center. Despite being outnumbered, he moved with the practiced grace of a predator, disabling both attackers without drawing the ceremonial sidearm he carried. Within minutes, the threat was contained. 7 infiltrators were captured alive, with only 1 requiring serious medical attention. The explosive devices, powerful enough to have destroyed the entire embassy, were secured and disabled. As security teams from the Concordat arrived to take custody of the prisoners, Morgan returned to the diplomatic reception, now relocated, to the embassy's secure conference room. The alien representatives watched him with new understanding as he entered the room without a hair out of place or a wrinkle in his suit. Despite having personally helped neutralize armed terrorists moments before. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morgan addressed the gathered diplomats, "please accept our apologies for the interruption. A security matter required attention, but it has been resolved. The reception will continue as planned." The Zentari ambassador approached him. "This was not a simple security matter, Ambassador Morgan. Our sensors detected explosive compounds powerful enough to destroy this entire section of the diplomatic quarter." Morgan smiled slightly. "As I said, a security matter. Nothing that should concern our guests." "Your staff moved with remarkable efficiency," the Zentari observed. "Almost as if they were trained for such situations." "All Earth diplomats receive comprehensive security training," Morgan replied. "It's standard procedure." The Zentari's crystalline form shimmered in what humans had learned was their version of laughter. "Earth didn't send diplomats," the ambassador remarked. "They sent apex predators who value peace enough to fight for it. Predators wearing suits." Morgan didn't deny the observation. "Every species contributes something unique to the Concordat. Perhaps Earth's contribution is understanding that true peace requires both the wisdom to avoid unnecessary conflict and the strength to end unavoidable ones." As the reception resumed, word of the foiled attack spread throughout the diplomatic quarter. Once again, Earth's representatives had demonstrated their unusual duality, cordial diplomats capable of lethal action when threatened. The story of humanity's entry into galactic society became a cautionary tale. Beware the species that evolved as predators but chose civilization. They weren't weaker for choosing peace. They were more dangerous because they understood exactly what was at stake. Throughout the galaxy, when interspecies conflicts threatened to escalate, parties on all sides would hesitate when hearing those fateful words. The Earth delegation has arrived to mediate, because everyone knew what lurked beneath those immaculate suits and polite smiles. Apex predators who had mastered the art of peace precisely because they understood the true cost of war.